I had a near perfect childhood. My parents were Christian, and we went to church every week, even though I didn't really understand it. And they raised me and my brother very well. And then fast forwarding to, I think it was high school, when I really started to understand the gospel and understand who Jesus was. And around that time, I started going to a youth group because there was a pretty girl there. In my later years of high school, I got really involved and really dived into the pursuit of Jesus and being a follower of Jesus. And as an upperclassman, I got involved in leadership in the youth group, as well as starting a Bible study and worship team at our school, and things were going really well. I went down to college, down to University of Idaho, and lost sight of that a little bit, just getting caught up in the college experience, and between parties and sleeping through morning classes and things like that. I still went to church, but I didn't really have the pursuit of Jesus that I had before. Sophomore year of college, me and a group of guys moved off campus into a house with the vision of creating a house that people could come to, and we would have open doors and open fridge, and people could just come and experience community and get rest from the crazy college life before they had to go back on campus. And I will never need more proof of who God is or the power of God than what He did through us in that house. And having sacrificial living and faithful living, and He made true on His promise in Acts to add to our numbers daily. And just seeing people give their lives to Christ and experience a close community and a genuine community was something that really sparked my love for God. And I hadn't really realized it, but a lot of where I found my rest was in my girlfriend at the time, and I had put an unfair burden as her being my anchor through all of this sacrificial living. And when we broke up that winter, I really realized how much I had relied on her for my faith. And it was around then that I really started to fall apart. I began to become really tired of giving up everything all the time to people, and selfishly just wanted to live my life the way I wanted to. And so I had moved out of the house, and this was when I got swept up in what the world had to offer. And this turned into going out and pursuing girls and parties and living just the stereotypical college life, and living in the pleasures of the world. The more I did this, the more I knew it was wrong, and the more I hated myself for it, and I drifted away from the community because I was ashamed, and I didn't want these people that were my friends and the people that looked up to me to see me go off the deep end. And so through this, I ended up hurting a lot of my friends and losing a lot of my friends. And going out and partying and having fun turned into drinking and getting high to forget. This snowballed into myself hating life and hating myself, and developing anxiety and anxiety attacks. And from there, I had almost completely cut off myself from everybody. And it wasn't until a late night conversation with my roommate, just reminiscing on old memories of freshman year and good times in college, that I realized how lost I'd actually become and how miserable I actually was. I decided that I needed to turn back to God, and in probably the most humbling experience I will ever go through, offer up all of my brokenness and ask for forgiveness, knowing full well that he had died for me and bought me from sin and loved me deeply, that I had looked at him and turned to the world and chosen what the world had to offer. There's a parable in Luke where Jesus tells of a father and two sons, and one of the sons asks for his inheritance early, takes it and leaves home, squanders it on the world, and ends up, after he runs out, in a pig pen, cold and miserable, and realizes the only thing he can do is go back to his home and his father and beg for mercy to be taken back into the house as a servant so he could be fed. And as he's walking up the road to go home, his father sees him and runs out to him, and just before he can even finish begging for mercy and for forgiveness, his father embraces him in a huge hug and orders for a feast and a celebration because his son is home. And his son was lost, but now he's found. And I realized not only that I was that son, but that God had been there waiting for me to stop squandering myself on the world and waiting for me to come back so that he could run out to me. And as I was asking for forgiveness and offering myself up back to God, the heavens didn't open, but the feeling of all of that baggage and regret and sin that I had been carrying by myself was lifted off of my shoulders, and that was a feeling of peace and rest that I hadn't felt in a long time, and I knew then that only Jesus could give. Since then, I've been reminded daily of how great community is, and also how great and endless God's grace is. And I will now know 100% confident that even the smallest piece of Jesus is far greater than anything the world could ever give. My name is Gonser, and I'm part of a greater story.